How to set goals and create a vision for a brighter future. In this episode, we are continuing teaching the principles. This is one of 12 principles that answers the question, how to prepare your children for the future. Get ready. This is one of my favorites. So my name's Doug Andrew, and I've helped many families optimize not only their financial assets for the last 48 years, but also to be able to optimize their foundational and intellectual assets. What would those be? You're going to see in this episode. It would be our family, our beliefs, our experiences, our knowledge, our wisdom, our heritage. These are the types of assets that we value or cherish most. So as we talk about preparing children for the future, I'm always shocked how many college graduates have never been taught or have they ever learned effectively how to set goals and how to have a vision, a vivid vision for a brighter future. So get ready. I'm going to go through how to do this. And as I lay this out on a form that I like to use when I do this with my own children and grandchildren, we have 6 children, my wife and we have 20 grandchildren. Now, oftentimes I will start out by making sure our children, our students, wherever I'm teaching this, get clarity on where they are at. And then they can get clarity on where they're wanting to go. So first of all, whenever you're going to set a goal, people usually go, well, this is where I want to go. This is something I want to achieve. But you've got to make sure you have clarity on where you're at. So when you're about to go on a trip somewhere for the very first time, what's the most important piece of information you need to know? Most people blurt out where you're going or how to get there. Nope. When using a GPS, it uses triangulation. And it does that by honing in on 3 out of about 30 satellites that orbit this Earth for that very purpose. Once it has clarity on where you are at, within 2 square feet on this globe, then you program in where you're wanting to go, and it will show you all kinds of ways to get to your desired destination, the freeway, the scenic way, the byway, and also where to refuel your car or yourself en route. So when people ask me, Doug, what is it that you like to do? I enthusiastically respond, I like to be the OnStar button, so to speak, in people's dashboard of life. You see, I like to help people get extremely clear on where they are at in every dimension of their life, and then get clarity on where they're wanting to go. Then the path to get to their desired destination can be easily mapped out. How to live the life they want to lead. Does that make sense? So let's go through and show you, like a GPS, 3 satellites that are in the GPS of every one of our souls. This is like a 3-legged stool. And I find that all too often, a lot of people are wobbling on 1 or 2 legs. A lot of people just focus on the money, material things. And they're bankrupt in the other 2 categories. I've noticed a lot of people that accumulate their wealth during life at the expense of their health. And then later in life, they're spending all their wealth trying to regain their health. That sounds sort of stupid, doesn't it? Many times people accumulate their financial wealth at the expense of relationships with their spouse, their kids, their grandkids, or their God. And at the end of the day, they have all this money, but they're like bankrupt in these other areas. And they go, what was all that for? I'm not going to take any of this money with me at the end of the day. There's no luggage racks on hearses, as the song says. So how do you help those that you care about set goals and constantly have a vision for a brighter future? Get ready. I'm about to show you this profound method to accomplish that. Now, if you're not aware, this is actually the 3rd principle in 12 principles that I teach. This is a handout called How to Prepare Your Children for the Future. And so these are 12 concepts that are all in this three-dimensional wealth channel. So if this is intriguing you, I would recommend you subscribe and click the little bell to be notified every time I post a new in-depth educational video, which I do almost on a daily basis. And click like if you and share with others. This is actually the third principle out of 12 that we're talking about how to set goals. So I'm going to go through and show you one of my favorite methods on this 11 by 17 sheet of paper. And when I do this with my children and grandchildren, we do this at least annually at our grandpa's camp. I talk about making goals that are SMART goals. Now, SMART is an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant in a time frame. Okay? And you're going to see this as I explain this particular 11 by 17. I do it on cardstock. So as I pass out this sheet of paper, I want them to write down SMART goals. Now here in these three areas right here are the three dimensions of what I call authentic wealth. And I'll describe these to you. And I have them write down financial, foundational, and intellectual. And then this is what they're going to give back to society. And at the end, I'll show you how they fill out this little breakthrough on each one of these three dimensions. So these are the three satellites in the GPS of every one of our souls. These are the three legs to a three-legged stool. And I find that many people are off balance. Sometimes they just focus on bodybuilding and they're bankrupt in the other two areas of their life. You have to be balanced. So I like to take the wobble out of people's lives by doing exercises like this. So when we talk about these dimensions and they write them down, the financial has to do with, of course, money and so forth. Or the foundational has to do with your heritage and so forth. We'll show you those in a moment. And then we have the wisdom that we gain throughout our life, our intellectual assets. So when we look at these, in the middle is what I call a perpetual cash fund. Cash is spelled K-A-S-H. That's knowledge, attitude, skills, and habits. This is a family bank where you're not only depositing the financial resources to be used by family members, but all your wisdom and knowledge and stories and everything, all the things that you've learned and experiences, good and bad, that will help your future generations learn from your successes and your mistakes. Now, when we fill this out, what we're talking about are these types of assets here, your house and your real estate and what have you. This is over in the financial category. We're setting goals here. We're setting goals down here in the foundational, the relationships with family, your health, your values, your spirituality, developing your talents, your future, your heritage, your friends, your character, charitable foundations, and so forth. When we talk about intellectual, you're setting goals about the knowledge you want to obtain, the experiences you want to have, your education, your reputation, systems, methods, traditions, alliances, ideas, and skills. So these are the three dimensions that we write down goals or vision. So when we come back to this whole concept on this sheet of paper, I got this idea from Dan Sullivan, my good friend, the strategic coach. And across the top of this form is a question because the goals need a time frame. And so my favorite time frame is usually 1 year or 3 years. And so at the top up here, it says, if we were meeting here 3 years from today, looking back over that 3-year period to today, okay, what has to have happened in your life for you to be happy with the progress you made with all of those assets I just showed you on the previous screen? When I do this with my children and grandchildren, they're writing down what has to have happened financially in their life during that 3-year period. When we do it just annually, and we get together in our living room and we do this, they write down what has to have happened during the next year for them to be happy with the progress. And I usually have them write that down in past tense as if it's already happened because you become what you think about. They write down their financial goals, their foundational assets, and they write down their intellectual asset goals. And as they do this, I always make sure they have 3, 4, 5, 6, 10. And pretty soon, once they get in the flow, they start writing like crazy because they're writing down goals that have to do with these assets, these areas, and these areas, all on these corresponding 3 dimensions. In the center is I usually have them write down who will they be giving back their money or contributing money to? Who are you contributing financially to, and your time and your talents? And that's always in the center. This is giving back to society. Now, when you see the energy in your loved ones as they begin to fill this out, they may start slow, but as they begin to write down this vision, they have clarity, and that's what always gives them energy. You write down your goals, and when you get all this done, I usually allow about 15 or 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. Now, this is one of our favorite exercises every year as a family. Once they do that, we're ready to move into the breakthrough. You ready for that? So, I'm an acronym guy. So, break, B-R-E-A-K, it means we want to make a breakthrough in achieving these goals, making sure that we dramatically increase the chance that these goals will come to fruition. And so on this dimension over here with the financial, I have them write down 3 barriers. The B stands for barriers that they would need to overcome. Okay, these are roadblocks, hindrances, dangers that they need to overcome. What are 3 resources? That's the R that they need to draw from. What are 3 experiences they need to draw from others or have themselves in order to do that? Maybe they need to have some experiences if one of their goals is to learn how to mountain bike ride or something like that in the physical area. Action steps, 3 action steps, and 3 ways that they're going to obtain knowledge. What knowledge do they need to obtain to achieve these goals? So that's barriers, resources, experiences, action steps, and knowledge. That spells break. They write those down over here for the financial goals, down here for the foundational goals, and over here for the intellectual goals. And on one 11 by 17 sheet of paper, in less than an hour, they will have a vivid vision of their brighter future for the next year or 3 years. They will hang it up in their room. Many times they ask for additional copies and they keep tweaking it. This is profound. Now, if you ever need to have a tool or a form to go into a specific goal, I also have one of them in the suite of tools, and I'll show you how to obtain that here in just a moment. It's what I call the Goal Activator. And this is one 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and many times when you have a specific goal, then you fill out 6 squares right here. And so many times as I give this to my children and grandchildren, they set their goals, or I do this with our adult children that want to set up their own family banks. They write down the goal and the date they want to achieve it by, and then they begin to fill out the boxes. What inspired you to set this goal or achieve this goal? The second box right here is what positive motivation will keep you focused on this goal? And you write that in. Number 3, what are the ideal results that will be achieved when this goal is reached? You give them about 3 minutes to fill it out. Number 4, how do you plan to accomplish the goal most effectively? Who are the abundant-minded support people that will cheer you on instead of criticizing you? Okay. They write down here. And then 6, what is the first action you're going to take to implement your plan? And you write it down there. So on one form, they can really do a deep dive on one particular goal. But as you begin to empower those you care about, this is very powerful. It's amazing how many college graduates have never been taught how to do something as simple as this. When you begin to do this with those that you care about, watch what happens. Watch how they have energy because they have clarity. So here's how you can obtain a free copy of this book, Entitlement Abolition. If you'll simply go to entitlementabolitionbook.com or click on the link below, you contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling, and I'll cover the rest of that cost. And I'll pay for the book and fire out a copy of this 200-page book to you. It's got 2 sections in it. And you will learn how to lead your family from me to we. Together we're better. And there's a lot of ideas in here, but these 12 principles are all taught on how to prepare your children for the future. So here's to your brighter future, and I hope that you'll also watch the other episodes in this series to learn all 12 principles to help give your children the greatest advantage in life.